Four corners. Building bridges. David Glover. Three kinds of bridges. Throughout history, people have built bridges. Think about the bridges you have seen. Did you ever wonder how they stood so tall or stretched so far? Did you ever wonder how they could hold so many cars, trains, and people? Building safe, strong bridges takes careful planning. Engineers are the people who plan and build bridges. They spend a lot of time designing bridges and studying the successes and mistakes of the past. This book looks at 3 great bridges. Each was built using a different design form: arch, cantilever, and suspension. In this book you can read about how the bridges were built and why they work. Traffic passes over the Golden Gate Bridge in California. In the United States. The Leonardo Bridge, an arch bridge. In 1502, a famous Italian inventor and artist, Leonardo da Vinci, drew a simple sketch of a beautiful bridge with an arch shape. He designed the bridge for Sultan Bajazet II, a ruler of the Ottoman Empire. The Sultan wanted a bridge to cross a stretch of water called the Golden Horn in what is now Istanbul, Turkey. Leonardo wanted to create a bridge that would allow tall sailing ships to pass underneath without having to lower their masts. He began with the idea of the Roman arch. However, Leonardo did not follow the traditional arch design. He created a new type of arch bridge. Leonardo's original bridge design. How an arch bridge works. In an arch bridge, the weight is carried from the top to the ground. The strong base supports the bricks. The force of all the weight squeezes the bricks tightly together. The red arrows below show the directions in which the forces move. An arch bridge is usually much stronger than a straight bridge made of the same material. Arch bridge. Leonardo's idea was to use a single arch, made of granite, to span the entire width of the Golden Horn. The bridge was to be 220 meters long. Its highest point was to be 36 meters above the water. The bridge would have been the greatest stone arch ever built. Leonardo used mathematics to work out whether the bridge would be strong enough. The bridge was to be narrow and light at the top and much wider at its bases. As the weight of the bridge pressed down, the wide bases would spread the load over a large area. Leonardo calculated that the arch would withstand great pressure. The Sultan and his advisors were doubtful when they saw Leonardo's design. They believed that the arch would collapse. The Sultan refused to try Leonardo's idea, so the bridge was never built. This painting shows how Leonardo's bridge might have looked if it had been built. The bridge in the background is an older kind of arch bridge. Almost 500 years later, a Norwegian artist, Vebjørn Sand, saw a model of the arch bridge Leonardo had designed. The model was on display in Stockholm, Sweden, at a show featuring Leonardo's inventions. Sand was impressed by Leonardo's bridge design. He thought it was beautiful and clever. Vebjørn Sand was inspired by Leonardo's design of an arch bridge. Vebjørn Sand beside a model of the bridge Leonardo had planned. Leonardo, the inventor. As a scientist and inventor, Leonardo was fascinated by many things. He had many ideas that were far ahead of his time. Some things he designed were clocks, cranes, water pumps, a diving suit, a retractable bridge, a robot, a flying machine, a bicycle, a helicopter, and an automobile. Leonardo's flying machine. Sand wanted to try to build the bridge. It would be the first time in history that one of Leonardo's bridge designs was to be built for public use. When Sand told the Norwegian officials what he wanted to do, he convinced them to support his idea. Sand worked with engineers to check the design. They used computers to make calculations that were impossible when Leonardo was alive. After studying the calculations, they decided a full-size stone bridge would not be strong enough for modern traffic. Sydney Harbour Bridge. The bridge over Sydney Harbour, Australia, uses a single arch design. This bridge is one of the world's longest arch bridges. The bridge took 8 years to build. It was officially opened in March 1932 and carries 2 railway lines and 8 lanes of traffic. Almost 49,000 tons of steel and 6 million rivets were used in its construction. Work on the bridge began in 2001. This photograph shows the center arch being put into place. How the bridge was built. After the walkway and the center arch were put into position, the first side arch was added. A crane helped to move each of the side arches into position. Workers installed the railings on the walkway. The railings were made of stainless steel and another type of timber. The engineers decided to build a smaller version of the bridge out of timber. The bridge was to have a span of about 100 meters. Leonardo's stone bridge would have been more than twice as long. The timber used for the bridge was to be a special type laminated pine. This kind of material is made by gluing thin strips of pine together. This lamination process creates a strong, solid material. On October 31, 2001, in a small town near Norway's capital city of Oslo, the Leonardo Bridge opened for pedestrians and cyclists. A version of Leonardo's bridge had finally been built, 500